So, beyond the orbit of Uranus is the mysterious planet of Neptune. Um, this planet takes 165 years to go around the Sun. So we're only going to experience it in half of our horoscope if we live to 84. But on the other hand, it's going to aspect everything in our horoscope. And the influence of Neptune is just so different from the influence of Uranus. It's much quieter and more gentle. But it's a bit like a river that's slowly going along, along its course, undermining the bank of the river where you may have built your house until your house sort of slides into the river. So basically, you lose things with Neptune, things dissolve, but you understand something too. And Neptune, the great influence of Neptune is a spiritual influence where you understand transcendent truths. And the big major truth to understand is that nothing lasts. Everything dissolves. And at the end, when you die, you can't take anything with you. So Neptune wants you to know that time is limited, things are going to dissolve, you're going to lose everything in the end. So what has value? What can you not lose? And you can't lose what's in your heart. You can't lose what's in your spirit. You can't lose your inner values. And Neptune's all about finding values which cannot be dissolved by the passage of time. And it does this generally through dissolution, or the human reaction to this lesson, you could say, to dissolution, is disappointment. So, for example, if Neptune is transiting your Saturn, and Saturn represents what you build as the solid structures in your life, could be your job, could be something in the office, could be your house, or something you're proud of building that's lasting. Neptune will always win. Neptune will dissolve it. So let's say Saturn is your job. Neptune's going to the things that worked before are going to stop working as Neptune transits Saturn, which will last at least 8 months, maybe 2 years. And so however much you try and hang on to things with Neptune, in the end, it all slips through your fingers. So Neptune is to do with acceptance. But it does, Neptune transits, it's a bit sneaky because first of all, it awakens your dreams and ideas. Really, basically, you can imagine going along in your everyday life, a Neptune influence comes and it says, well, it could be like this or it could be like this. It awakens dreams of how it could be in the future and ideas. And that is one of the major things that makes you feel dissatisfied with how things are right now. So if Neptune transit comes to your Venus, and Venus is your love life, then you're going to be dreaming of, and in fact, if you're single at this time and ready for relationships, somebody will come along with Neptune to Venus. That person will seem perfect. They'll be a musician, a poet. They'll come with flowers and wine. It's like Hollywood. It's like a dream. And people can fall terribly in love with Neptune transits to Venus. It's almost always something that ends in disappointment. And it's partly connected with the unrealistic high ideals that you start having of the person, and the person just turns out to be normal like everyone else, and so you start getting disappointed with the person. So Neptune to Venus is better to have loved and lost than never to have loved at all, you can say. It awakens the heart, and that was the good thing about it. It's like a flower that comes into bloom when Neptune comes to Venus, for example. So the only way to handle Neptune, basically, is to accept what's going on and to surrender to it. Now, there's many cases in astrology, a Saturn transit you don't accept, you struggle, you fight, you overcome. But a Neptune transit, that's precisely what's not going to work. You have to know when to give up, when to let go, when to drop, when to say, your will be done. So acceptance and surrender is the key. And what often happens after a Neptune transit is that, so it's awakened something. Something has blossomed inside of you because you turned your attention to your inner life, your spiritual life. Maybe something with music, art, creativity. These things start flowering, or maybe you start meditating, you become a Buddhist. I don't know. It will, you start becoming interested in your inner life. It's incredibly enriching. So despite the disappointments and frustrations that can happen with a Neptune transit, in the end, you wouldn't be without it, because you feel your life has simply become more enriched by it. Okay, so let's look at an example. And the example I've chosen is Tony Blair. You can see here that he has got the moon in Aquarius and he's got the sun in Taurus. So the sun and moon, the most important bodies in the horoscope, are square each other. And what happened was that Neptune came through Aquarius around 2003 and conjoined his moon 3 times. Once, twice, 3 times. And simultaneously, or just a little bit afterwards, it squared the sun 3 times. And I can imagine that wasn't very easy for Tony Blair. This was a politician who was extremely popular in Britain, elected at least 3 times. Nothing was threatening his government. And he made the fatal error of believing, or pretending to believe, propaganda about weapons of mass destruction in Iraq, went to war in Iraq, and basically completely and utterly lost the trust of the British people. They were so disappointed in him, basically, and he gave away his power to George Brown in 2007. But this period from 2003 to 2005 was a period when all his credibility was lost, and there were scandals, cover-ups, mysterious events happening, and basically people just didn't trust Tony Blair anymore. Of course, this, for him personally, this must have been very, very frustrating. But for the people, and the moon in astrology is in the 10th house of career, moon represents the people. Basically, we, the people, got disappointed on a collective level, and Tony Blair, lost his ability to act, and in the end had to give up his post. I'm sure it was quite a spiritual time for him. I know that he is, you can see often when planets are in the 12th house, especially the sun. George Bush also has the sun in the 12th house. It often shows quite a religious nature. And after leaving his prime minister post, he actually converted to Catholicism. But he's never actually achieved anything great after this period. It might have been good spiritually, but this was the end of his political life. He went on as a peace envoy in the Middle East and has pretty much achieved nothing. So, big disappointment for us all.